And we are back here at 8:08 a.m. on this Thursday edition of Dave and Matt in the Morning. 63 degrees, 86 the forecast high today on this 10th day of October. Glad to have in the studio, live, the Texas country reporter that you've all seen so many years, sponsored by the Dairy Queen. I don't know if you still are, but you used
Not
to
anymore.
Be.
No,
Okay.
but here's what's funny. That's all right, because here's what's funny about that. Dairy Queen was the original sponsor of Texas Country Reporter when we syndicated in 1987. And I became their spokesperson, and we continued that arrangement until right around 2000 when Warren Buffett bought International Dairy Queen and sued the Texas Dairy Queen operators because they had this long-standing deal that went back, eons, that they didn't have to participate in the national marketing.
Oh,
and you know how that goes. The national, they want those dollars out. And Texas did their own thing. Just Texas is its own country because we're Texas and we can.
We can.
Yeah,
and that's right.
That's when our arrangement ended. But there's hardly a day goes by that somebody doesn't come up. Yeah. Here it is, 2019, and somebody still comes up to me almost 20 years later and says, "Hey, the Dairy Queen guy." So I think that was a campaign that worked. What do you think?
I think it worked. I think it did.
Yeah, and let's say you're Bob Phillips, as well as your wife's here, Kelli Phillips, and y'all do the Texas Country Reporter. But y'all are actually here for a reason. Y'all are in Lubbock because of the Mueller Foundation and what they did there. So can you kind of explain what happened there?
Yeah, basically back in 2008, when the recession hit, Bob went to one of our sponsors, Mueller, Metal Roofs and Metal Buildings, and said, "Hey, I've got a great idea. Why don't you give away a building to a Texas nonprofit?"
They didn't throw me out. They listened to the idea. Yeah. Hey, it's a recession going on, guys, but we want you to give away a building.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Sure.
Yeah, and the owner said, I think that's a great idea. I mean, think about it. During the recession, the first thing that happens is nonprofits suffer because nobody's donating money.
Right.
Yeah.
So that started 11 years ago. And every year we open it up, and we normally have anywhere from 200 to 300 nonprofits in the state of Texas, very deserving. And we narrow it down to 3 finalists and then ultimately pick a winner. And in 4 days, the Mueller men come in, guys who are in IT and sales, not normally building a Mueller building, and they actually construct a building for a Texas nonprofit.
4,000 square feet. This isn't a tiny building. This is like going to be these people's new headquarters.
Yeah.
And they're going to run their nonprofit out of it, and it elevates them.
So who's the lucky person or the lucky group in Lubbock?
Drum roll.
Refuge Services.
This is equine therapy, and these people have been doing it right down the street here. If you go outside your radio station and take a right and just go to the dead ends, till 82nd dead ends, you're going to run right into them. These guys have been providing services for all kinds of people. Equine therapy is an interesting thing, and I won't pretend to know how it works exactly, but it all has to do with the relationship between a person, whether it be someone with autism or Down syndrome or a wounded warrior that's come back from Afghanistan and is suffering from PTSD. It can be all kinds of things going on in your head, in your body, your emotions, whatever. And working with these horses has been proven over and over again to work to help these people get their lives straight. And that's what they've been doing very quietly right down the street here at Equine.
For about 20 years
Refuge
now.
Services. Yeah, 20 years this year, I believe.
Yeah, I think the last story I'd seen on. I mean, I'm so glad this is a positive story, but some kids had taken off with some horses or something.
Yeah, that happens. When you got a
And,
bunch of horses.
they had to get them back. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean they. I think that ended up being positive press for them because people found out they were there. I don't think anybody even knew that they were out there trying to help people.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and now having a new building, they'll be able to help even more people in the community.
So is this going to be, they're going to be housing the horses there? For the stalls?
No.
They already do. They already have, quite a few acres there where the horses are, and they have a big barn. But that's pretty much it. this is going to be a place for their nonprofit. Right now, everybody does their work out of an office about the size of your studio here. You know, it's and they've got
you can't do an office out of that.
yeah,
No,
and it's several.
when you're counseling people, those folks that are suffering from PTSD, and you're trying to counsel them, and you're trying not to, invade their privacy and have everybody know. Now these people will be able to have offices in one-on-one.
And they're even we put a great big viewing window in the very back of this building, and they will eventually have an arena out there, and people can sit in here and watch their loved ones or spouses or whoever going through this thing, the outside with these horses. It's a cool deal. I mean, it really is. I'm going to admit something. I was a non-believer in this thing. These people are the most persistent because they have applied to receive this building for at least the last 5 and maybe 6 years. Mm-hmm. They actually made the finalist list one time, and we came and visited, but there was we always compare the 3 finalists and decide who needs the building the most, who's serving the most people, who's going to do the most good at this point in time. So they didn't get it until this year. And we came back and we visited them again, and we started really looking into this equine services thing, this therapy, and found out, it's a real deal. And it's hard to explain, but once you watch it, all of a sudden you're a convert.
Well, I have some experience with that, and so I'm a believer.
You're a believer. Well, I am now too.
Yes.
And these people are great, and they're and the show that we always do a 30-minute special episode of Texas Country Reporter that airs on Thanksgiving weekend every year. And we tell the whole story of how this,
so
who
this
these people
will
are.
be the story then.
This will be it.
So
The entire thing will be here in Lubbock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you've been through Lubbock before, and I'm sure.
yeah.
I mean,
Once or twice over the past, how many years?
how many?
We're in the 48th season of Texas Country Reporter.
The big question that I wanted to know is, have you run out of stories?
Okay, look, here's the deal. When we started in 1972, October of 1972 is when we started this. We said, all right, what is this going to be? Well, at first it was going to be, we're going to go out and we're going to do stories about these small towns. And we did a little bit of that in the very beginning. And then we started thinking, wow, we're eventually going to run out of small towns. We're going to have to go to, what are we going to go to, big cities? Probably not. And then, we'll do events, festivals and all that. Well, we may have done a few of those. But what it came around to is we need to do stories about people.
There you go.
About Texas,
and that's the most
Texas
interesting.
culture, people's passion. Well, as long as they keep making more people, we won't run out of
We've got a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, some guy that's the horse whisperer in some little town
That's right.
somewhere, or
the
some
fiddle
guy,
maker. Yeah.
Exactly.
Somebody who's doing something that's not around anymore.
8:16 a.m. Talking to the Texas Country Reporter, Bob and Kelli Phillips, and we'll take a quick break and come right back with more. And we're back here on KFYO Mornings with Matt and Dave, and this is Barbecue Day. Yes, the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce annual barbecue cook-off,
That's
and
right.
it is tonight, or starts at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
goes from
tonight,
5
to 8.
5 to 8 out at the fairgrounds, and you got to go to this if you like barbecue and libations and Texas country music.
That's right. We have 2 tickets to give away right now to caller number 5 at 770-5790. 770-5790. We got 2 more tickets that we're going to give away right now. Caller number 5.
You got it. And glad to have the Texas Country Reporter and Mrs. Texas Country Reporter in our studios today. This is, of course, Bob and
Kelli.
Bob and Kelli. I was going to say Beth for some reason, but Bob and Kelli Phillips.
Uh-oh, you're in trouble now, Bob.
You could be a Beth.
I don't think so. I've been a Kelli all my life. I think I'll stick with
you
it.
guys, Texas Country Reporter is it's one of those icons of Texas. You guys have been around since the 70s. Have you counted the number of shows that you've done?
Well,
It's going to be in the thousands.
It is in the thousands, yeah. And it's funny because we started renumbering them when we syndicated in 1987. And now it's right at around 2,000 since then, weekly shows. But then there were 16 years worth before that.
Yeah.
that
And there's something else. You have employed one of the Lubbock boys, Brian
Hawkins.
He was worked at the TV station. A lot of people knew him, and he's been with you for what did you say, 30 years?
30 years this past August.
Tell Brian I said hi. He may or may not.
Brian
remember
is
me.
right here in Lubbock. He's out at the build site right this minute, where we're going to have a ceremony here at 11 o'clock this morning to dedicate that new building for Refuge Services.
Now, something that fascinated me about this building was how quickly did y'all get this thing up?
That's funny because it's like an army of ants that comes in, and the steel for this building is delivered at 7 o'clock on Monday morning, and by the end of the day, Wednesday, it's usually up and finished.
Now this is a Mueller building.
This is a Mueller building. Yeah, Mueller.
They're the ones
they're out of Ballinger, by the way.
they're donating this.
They donate this building, and it's but the building, I mean, if you were to go out and buy a 4,000 square foot building and have it erected, it's going to cost you, some bucks, right? But the building is not the total story and the worth of the building, because we've kept track of the economic impact over the years. We've given away now 11 of these buildings all over the state to nonprofits. They're all nonprofits that needed that. The way we came up with the name Helping Hand, they needed that helping hand. They're not recipients of
Grants.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of money in.
they're
from,
nonprofits.
and some nonprofits have some steady money
Federal
coming
grants and stuff.
Right.
in. Yeah, but these are people who are kind of on the verge of making it, but they're not quite there. But if you give them that boost, that helping hand, they will, and that's what's happened with each of the preceding 10 that
Yeah,
we've
it
done.
catapults them into the next level.
Yeah, and so the economic impact is somewhere north of $30 million so far. That all because of giving this building to a nonprofit.
Now, is there a Mueller in Lubbock?
There's Mueller in Lubbock. There's Mueller all over the state.
They're even expanding outside of Texas.
Yeah, they're for the first time really expanding outside, but they're kind of the Rolls Royce of, if you're a rancher and you have a barn and you want a really nice barn that's going to be there
You're
for a long
going
time.
to have a metal
They all
building from Mueller.
Yeah, then you
Well,
get
and of
that.
course we see a lot of those. That's a very big business, and and that's somebody you ought to consider if that's returns so much to the community.
That's right.
Yeah, then they're good people, and the ones who put up these buildings. They don't do that except for one time a year. Mueller actually sells you the stuff, and then you hire a contractor to put your building up, except for this one time a year. And so they get it done in 3 days. And this one they finished early because of the beautiful Lubbock weather we had this week.
It's
Well,
been
and
gorgeous.
Very nice.
And we do want to remind people that you're shooting an episode of
Yes.
the Texas Country Reporter that will air around Thanksgiving. You said that
On
will be shot here in Lubbock.
That's right.
And the construction. Are you going to have some footage of the construction?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see the whole thing. In fact, we do time lapse and all that. It's really fascinating to watch these guys put this thing up. And everybody's invited to come out. This is an open celebration at 11 o'clock this morning out at Refuge Services.
So there you go. If you want to go out there at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we'd
but
love
it's
to see you.
basically MLK and 82nd is
And you'll get to
basically where
find
they
out
are.
more about what they're doing out there.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
this is about equine therapy.
That's right.
So
that's right.
we're running out of time, but before we go, I wanted to ask you, you've got a big festival coming up in Waxahachie. Why don't y'all tell us a little bit about that?
It's the 24th annual Texas Country Reporter Festival. It's the largest festival in the state of Texas.
One-day festival.
One day. October 26th this year in Waxahachie. We'll have anywhere from 50 to 70,000 people that will run through there. It's a great place to visit the people that we've actually done stories on. They'll sell their wares. We've got 300 vendors this year.
Several from right around here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matter of fact, Slayton Bakery is one
Those
of our
vanilla
regulars.
wafers.
We did a story with those guys down there.
Yeah, they're iconic, man.
Oh
Yes,
my
they are.
gosh, they are. And so
Like they go back. They go back to the old days.
Yes, they
Yes.
do, and they still do it right. We will be stopping at Slayton Bakery on our way out of town, as we always do when we come to Lubbock. You know, that's
But we've
for
got
sure.
music on stage all day long. People, again, who have been featured on the show. Our headliners this year is John Anderson.
And he's going to do, he's going to do something that he rarely does. It's going to be more of an unplugged session. He and one other musician on stage. So you're going to hear, Seminole Wind and all of his hits. Gosh, that guy had 70-something charting hits.
Yeah, he had a lot
A
of
lot,
songs.
yeah. And so he's going to be doing that at 6 o'clock on stage.
Well, I mean,
But
he was
we'll
doing it for
use
what, 30 years? That
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was making
that's right.
hits.
That's
Yeah.
right. That is exactly right. So,
But the festival itself is free. We invite everybody to come down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's so great to have you guys on. I mean, seriously, you know, we've been watching the Texas Country Reporter. I mean, just
don't you dare
It
say
just
you
goes
grew
with-
up watching it.
well,
I did.
I can.
You're
I
old
can
enough.
say that.
You can say that.
well,
But he and I are about the same age,
Yeah.
so I don't think he grew up watching it.
no, didn't grow up watching it, but I started watching it back in the 70s.
That's right.
Yeah, it did. Has it been on Channel 11 all that time?
We've always been on Channel 11
Yeah.
out here. Yes.
Yeah, it's been. I buy it sometimes for some of my clients. I know that.
There we go.
Oh, that's about it. That puts a bow on this one.